Amigos de Índigo GEEK, seguimos en directo desde CCXP MX y para mí es todo un gusto y un honor estar con el director de la película de Backrooms, Kane Parsons. Hi, Kane.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
The concept of Backrooms and liminal spaces started from a forum post long ago. Since then, it has inspired a lot of creepypastas, short films, and even video games. We can even see a reference of everywhere at the end of times in this film, which is awesome. How did you manage to synthesize all that universe and mythology into this film?
I think it comes down largely to just walking back to the, when I first started working on Backrooms at all, it came from a place of, really there wasn't a lot of stuff for Backrooms. Like there weren't many games. There wasn't really like much in the way, if I think it was maybe like a small handful of short films, but not much that really went into like the CG design of the place. And I felt like that was kind of the area that I personally wanted to explore the most early on. And so like when I was starting it, it was mostly fulfilling the desire of, there was all these images of the Backrooms, but what would it be like to more properly flesh out that environment? It was a pretty simple desire, just to, it was kind of a fun project, just design some backroom spaces and then walk around them and piece it together into a little short film. And gradually while I was working on that, and really once it somehow managed to gain traction online when I posted it in the beginning of 2022, I started to connect it to this other web series idea that I had in my head for a little while, and that's what it ended up becoming, this sort of science fiction narrative or sci-fi horror narrative, about this MRI Research Institute, like this little company in San Jose, California that accidentally gets access to the Backrooms and all the logistical nightmares that come out of that. But I think generally it's, I truthfully, because there are so many interpretations and a lot of them just like aren't consistent with like the version I've been putting forward, I'm just not that truthfully aware of a lot of them. I mean, I am aware, but I'm not like the level systems and some of the wiki versions and whatnot isn't necessarily representative of the version I've put forward in this series and in the film. But I think that while it doesn't necessarily adapt all these things that people have come up with and like all the things that might be referred to in games, I would say that it what I care the most about is going back to why the Backrooms as an idea caught on for people in the first place. Like what is like the inherent DNA of the thing for people? Why is there any desire to make a game or make web series, make any kind of writing or literature about the Backrooms? And I would say like going back to that DNA and making sure that nothing contradicts that and nothing really does anything but furthers and services that initial idea and feeling that people got from it. I think has been the hope and the goal. And so mine is just one interpretation of many. No one owns the Backrooms. This is my version, and it's one that I think people are going to probably resonate with, or it'll probably resonate with a lot of people. As it's it's very consistent with the existing series that my fans know, and so it's not mythology-wise new there, but it is going and exploring new directions in that world.
Okay, talking about interpretations, the storyline of the Backrooms films leans to a more intimate narrative. As a horror fan and a filmmaker, how do you think the fears and anxieties of the audiences have evolved?
I think that it depends, because it's weird going through the stages of making a project for people online, and there's a set audience, and I know that audience, and they know the film, or they know Backrooms, and I spend like several years consistently putting stuff out and fleshing out that world, and then going to a place where, okay, we need to make this film, but it has to work for people who have not seen any of that. So it has to inherently sort of like, we have to find a way to make a film that works for the people who are longstanding fans of the IP, and then people who've never heard of the Backrooms, and anywhere in between. And so I feel like it took a little bit of time to find the right version there, the right formula for it, but I would say we did, and I feel really good about how that's landed. But I think that sorry, can you refresh me? What was the on this bit of the question?
How the fears and anxieties?
Yes. So I think that like with my audience, like like my direct audience, honestly, they are so obsessive about the environments that they might see through the horror and just only be like this plug socket is like, guys zoom in on this plug socket and like try to pull a whole narrative out of that. So that's them. But like broadly, I think that it's like people have seen a lot of Backrooms, but a lot of people haven't. I think this does a good job of playing on what has consistently worked for Backrooms without trying to like, beat a dead horse, I guess. I think there's things in this film for sure that I've never done before in the series, and I know my audience hasn't seen before, and I think generally speaking, it's enough of a strange collage of ideas and imagery that I think probably most people haven't seen some of the combinations of my hope would be you get some strange sensation out of this film that you haven't quite caught too many times before. But that'll be different for every person, obviously. That's just the best I can hope for. I think it'll be different for everyone. It's hard to give a one-for-all answer on that.
During your time in Mexico, have you come across any place that gives off a Mexican backroom vibe? And if the answer is yes, which one was it?
Well, I think I haven't spent enough time here yet. I only got here yesterday. I want to go do a full walk around and look at so many buildings that I've passed by that I'm like losing my mind over how like some of the... I've seen a lot of really cool buildings here. So I don't think I can give like a proper answer to that. I know I'm obsessed with the power lines and the general infrastructure, which is something that I try to weave into my stuff a fair bit, with like power lines being inside rooms and whatnot, and Backrooms even in this film and elsewhere is so reflective of the real world, like physically, like the idea being that like you will find architectural details of specific places from specific places in the outside world, and so throughout the YouTube body of work, there's been stuff from really all over the world. So I think there's very much room for there to be there could very well be this room we're in right now somehow extrapolated outwards in all directions into like a section of the Backrooms or something. So I want to do some exploring and get some inspiration while I'm here.
Kane, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And congratulations about this movie.
Thank you, man. This was great.